not believe in Zionism. But you see the ramifications of this. You see the
Keep left to take Georgia 120, Georgia 360 toward Powder Springs, Hiram.
This ideology, it's real and it's playing out in real time. You just
In a half mile, take the US 278 exit.
Bringing back or the coming of the Messiah. I think he's a little confused because if he was Jewish, what is he talking about? Messiah. They rejected the Messiah, so they're waiting on the Messiah. They believe that they are in the promise.
Take the US 278 exit.
Waiting on the Messiah, right? Like, that's what Jews believe. That's what Jews believe. So when Bibi Netanyahu says the return
Continue for 3 miles.
Is he just gaslighting to Christian Zionists? Is he gaslighting or is he stoking the fire of what Greg Locke believes? That this will bring about the rebuilding of the third temple and that Christ will then come. Yeah, I mean, that's what he's doing. So it makes it even more sinister because it's not even a Jewish belief that he's talking about there. It's actually a Christian Zionist belief that he's kind of inflaming with that rhetoric. But you see, the point is that you see this ideology, it's playing out in real time, and real people are losing their lives for it. It created a real war. So, like, if you think this stuff isn't important, like, not only are our rights at risk, but the lives of American citizens, of Christians, of Jewish people, like of Muslim and of Jewish people of all faiths. Like, we saw an attack. There were literally attacks yesterday. Who committed them and why? Like, I'm pretty sure it's still under investigation. But even so, it's all inflaming. Like, it's inflaming. It's just causing loss of life. So there are real consequences to it, and there are real deadly consequences to it. So it's obviously very important that we talk about all of these things.
This is a Morgan & Morgan legal alert. Reports show that DoorDash has allegedly shared your data with third-party companies without consent, and that those companies may have improperly used the data for their own commercial purposes. Your sensitive information may have been unfairly collected by third parties.
In 1 mile, take the exit on the left toward Villa Rica.
And 2025, you may be entitled to compensation. Morgan & Morgan has recovered over $30 billion for clients. You don't pay us anything unless we win. Visit forthepeople.com/DoorDash today.
Rummy 500, designed for seniors, large cards, no annoying ads.
In a half mile, take the exit on the left toward Villa Rica. Take the exit on the left toward Villa Rica. Then turn left. Turn left onto Nathan Dean Boulevard, Georgia 61. Continue on Georgia 61 for 4 miles.
All right, let's get to some of your guys' comments here real quick. Wanted to bring this one up, and you know that I just addressed it. Did you see Ted Cruz saying that the phrase Christ is King is anti-Semitic? I just brought it up there with that article that Charlie Kirk shared and said, oh, OMG, can you believe this crap? It's like, same thing. Did you see Ted Cruz? OMG, can you believe this crap? Look, guys, if we want to get to the true definition of Christianity, we believe that Jesus Christ is the Jewish Messiah. And we believe that Christ is the King of the Jews. Our religion is, again, it's Christ or not. It's the acceptance of Christ as the Messiah, or it's the rejection of Christ as the Messiah. There is a fundamental difference between Christianity and Judaism. That's the fact. That's the fact of the matter. So yes, you could say that Christians would be anti-Semitic because of what we believe. And you would say the same thing about Jews. They're anti-Christians. Like, we have a fundamental disagreement. We don't agree with each other on what the truth is. So yes, like that is, so to say Christ is king, I mean, if that offends you, why can't I say Christ is king? Why can't I say Christ is king when Ben Shapiro can say that Jesus was a criminal revolutionary who got what he deserved for causing trouble? What is that? What's that? If I can't say Christ is king, then why is Ben Shapiro allowed to say that? Like, do you understand the double standard here? There's a fundamental difference in what we believe in. Wanted to bring this one up too because it's the truth. Yes, Zach, Jesus is the temple now, and we are his church. That's right. That's right. Orthodox Christian belief. Guys, Jesus is the third temple. He told the Jewish leaders at the time, he predicted the destruction of the temple. And then he also said, I will tear down this temple, and in 3 days I will rebuild it. And then in scripture it says he was talking about the temple of his body. It's done. It's done. Okay? The coming of the Messiah. If the coming of the Messiah happens, it's going to be the second coming. But there's no going to be rebuilding of the third temple as it relates to Christian history or belief.
Yes, there is.
Another member here, a couple member shout outs. I appreciate you guys. Again, we're going to do a member show on Monday. Monday will be a member show. So if you guys want to be a part of that, make sure you sign up for a membership here. All right, Sarah, the audacity Laura Loomer has to say that about Tucker and Candace. She ridiculed Charlie in July. So should we accuse her of his assassination? That's a great point. That's a great point. You know what? I should go back and dig up that tweet of her criticizing and condemning Charlie Kirk and her rhetoric there, and then be like, oh, well, what is this, Laura? What's this? Look, this whole argument of if you speak out against a certain thing, if you offer dissent about anything, and then some crazy person goes about,
In 1 mile, turn right onto Tanner Lane.
or some assassination, like it's this whole political environment that we're in. There's a lot of criticism, there's a lot of dissent. Like we can't go to this point to where you're going to blame Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens for these attacks. Like that's just completely unfair, and it's completely ridiculous, and it puts their life at risk as well. We are
In a half mile, turn right onto Tanner Lane.
We're allowed to criticize. We are allowed to offer dissent. Like we are allowed to do that, and you cannot then turn around and say that free speech is an incitement of violence. That's completely out of line. It's completely unfair, and you're 100% right to make that comparison there. As far as Laura Loomer, she criticized Charlie, and then he was killed. Does that mean
Turn right onto Tanner Lane.
Blame her for the assassination? Is she guilty of that? Should she be criminally held responsible for that? Because that's what she's doing.
In 500 feet, turn left onto Medlock Way.
And people are doing the same thing with regard to Candace Owens and Erica Kirk, because she's looking into her background.
Turn left onto Medlock Way.
She's looking into it. She's doing her investigation. She's targeting Erica Kirk. This is putting Erica's life in danger.
In 700 feet, turn right onto Jared Way.
Nobody's calling for any violence against Erica Kirk. That's not true. That's not true. We're just looking for the truth. We're looking for the truth regarding everything everything having to do.
Turn right onto Jared Way.
And because we've been lied to by Erica Kirk and by Turning Point USA,
In 900 feet, turn right onto Dune Court.
Things even more, and it causes us to want to look back into the past of Erica Kirk and all of these people that are now involved, and taking Turning Point USA in a direction that Charlie did not want it to go in. Like it's becoming even more obvious. This is happening. It's becoming even more obvious.
Turn right onto Dune Court.
The same thing just happened with Thomas Massey. They got caught and community noted.
In 700 feet, 130 Dune Court, Dallas, Georgia 30157. USA will be on the right.
Responded back to Turning Point USA, be like, whoa. I had a great relationship with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk referred to me as one of his favorite congresspeople. And Thomas Massey, literally, he responded and said, what happened to y'all? Like
130 Dune Court, Dallas, Georgia 30157. USA is on the right.
hey guys, like Charlie really likes me. Like, what are you guys talking about? What are you talking about? They called Thomas Massey a rhino. Turning Point Action, called Thomas Massey a rhino, and literally, according to Turning Point USA's own rankings of conservative legislators, Thomas Massey is one of the top most conservative legislators in the American government. So they got fact on their own rankings, using their own rankings. Have we gotten a response from Blake Neff or Andrew Colvett about why Turning Point USA is calling Thomas Massey a rhino, which is something that is that's a complete 180. That's a complete 180 of what Charlie Kirk believes. So where's the statement on that one? Okay, we got a statement last week from them after they got community noted again for Charlie coming out advocating for regime change because they used an old video they dug up to try to push that narrative, right? So what direction are they going here? What direction are they going? Because when we see this, when they're like, okay, like Charlie's not here, and now they're trying to form this into something that Charlie didn't want, and then they claim they're doing it to carry on Charlie's legacy. People that are capable of discernment and can observe reality are like, whoa, what are you doing here? Like, what are you doing? You know, like we all see it with our own eyes and we see what they're doing, and then it causes questions. It just causes questions when you lie, when you deceive, when you distort, when you shift the narrative, when you spin. Like, this causes us to be like, what's going on here? What's going on here? Right? So again, good comment. Thank you for that one. Messiah rejectors, bro. Messiah rejectors, bro. They too good for Jesus. Yeah, I mean, being too good for Jesus, or I mean, there's just, it's, again, I said it before. This is either it's Christ or not. It's rejection of Christ as the Messiah, or it's the acceptance of Christ as the Messiah. It's very simple here.
Drive west on Dean Court, then turn left onto Jared Way.
2,000 years of Christian history and tradition to look back on, so we can see the teachings of these things and see what the original Christian belief was from the time of the apostles all the way on. We saw what they had been through. We saw the persecution that they were under Jewish leaders at the time who had lobbying influence on the governments that they were within at the time, and we see it all. We see it all, and we understand what was going on.
Turn left onto Jared Way.
They too good for Jesus? I mean, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but they certainly, I mean, reject Christ ultimately as...
In 900 feet, turn left onto Medlock Way.
If you are a Christian and you believe that Jesus is the Messiah, and you believe in what Jesus told us, which is that the only way to the Father is through him, and that unless you believe in him, like that's...
Turn left onto Medlock Way.
Like, that's the only way that the Holy Spirit can dwell within you. And that's the only way that we can bear fruit.
In 700 feet, turn right onto Tanner Lane.
The only way that we can bear fruit and do good is through the Spirit that lives in us. If left up to our own devices and left up to ourselves and the things...
Turn right onto Tanner Lane.
Newsflash, guys. It doesn't bear good fruit. It doesn't bear good fruit. The only way that we can do good is by the Spirit.
In 500 feet, turn left onto Villa Rica Highway.
God does the good through us. Through us. We don't do it ourselves. It's God.
Can you speak Japanese?
Hi.
What words do you know?
Konnichiwa.
Nice. What else?
Arigato.
Turn left onto Villa Rica Highway, Georgia
As I
61.
said at the outset, their name was redacted. Their last name was redacted in the Epstein files. And when you look at Kash Patel talking about the fact that the Epstein files proved no sex trafficking, and now we have other people in there who have been...
In a half mile, turn right onto Dallas Nebo Road.
Separate, because you have victims who are saying that they were inside Jeffrey Epstein's New York mansion by these guys who are now convicted of that. Your government hates you. They are lying to you, and they will keep doing it if you let them do it. Perjury. It's straight up perjury. Kash Patel saying things like that. You useful f***ing idiot. What's up?
Turn right onto Dallas Nebo Road.
Episode of The Great Society Show. I am Julian Dory.
And I'm Joey Deef. How you doing?
How you doing? All right, so Jeffrey Epstein allegedly has a child. Let's just start with that.
Continue for miles.
Right off the top right there. That is in a report from the Daily Mail. We will talk about that in a little bit because I do want to say when we see these claims coming out that are from evidence, to be clear, we'll discuss it. It is from evidence that the Daily Mail was able to put together. They didn't just make it up or anything like that, but it is based on some written claims. We can't just assume it's completely true right away, but there certainly appears to be a there, and we will discuss that. But, you know, we're also going to get into the fact that Princess Diana keeps coming up in this stuff. Isn't that fascinating?
A lot of people keep coming up in a lot of things, and it's just had my fucking head spinning for the last few weeks, if I'm being quite honest.
I'm with you. In Princess Diana's case, it's never been a negative context.
No,
I appreciate
no,
it. You know, most people that you're talking about, Dave,
Yeah,
put in negative context.
I'll pump the brakes there, folks. She's a gem. She was a gem.
Yes. She's certainly one of those people that, considering the world she was from and the people she was around and the stereotypes that in many cases we righteously so have on it, seem to have been a lone shining light, if you will, in many cases. We talked about at the beginning the report with Epstein having a kid. Let's pull up that Daily Mail article right there so that we can go through what this is, because Zorro Ranch is where he talked about the eugenics and the mass breeding and things like that, and you have to wonder if something like this could have come from that, or if this was just like Jeffrey Epstein took advantage of some poor girl and got her pregnant and didn't kill her. I mean, like, you would think, looking at how Jeff seems to handle things, he would have never let that happen, but
I saw a fun tweet that's like, yeah, his daughter, Erica Kirk, you know, obviously not real. I just thought it was really funny.
yeah, it is.
Because she's going to run the Air Force now.
I need that to be real.
It would explain a lot.
She's the worst.
Dude, running the Air Force? What the fuck does Lady Gaga know about cameras? That's literally the first fucking thing. I was like, bro, what?
I like some of the Gaga songs.
Yeah, like,
What the fuck does she know about cameras?
come on, bro.
Dude, it's gotta be said. You know, people for a long time, they're like, and I stayed away from it, like, oh, you know, people grieve in weird ways. Dog. She ain't real.
She been leveling up.
She ain't real.
So horrible.
Ain't real. Just leave that there. That's not my lane. But yeah, I there's no case to the contrary.
Imagine being in the Air Force. That's what I was like. If I was in the Air Force, I think I'd just resign. Be like, guys, are you serious?
Dumb. All right, let's look at this. Jeffrey Epstein. This is from Daily Mail. Jeffrey Epstein allegedly was a dad. The pedophile's shocking confession and the photo of the blonde he called, quote, the perfect woman. This is the mother of my child, is the quote. That is what Jeffrey Epstein...
Drive west for a half mile.
...alluding to a picture of a blonde woman displayed inside his New York mansion, according to...
Drive south on Dallas Nebo Road for 6 miles.
In a newly disclosed account, the woman who claims she was sexually assaulted by Epstein for years since she was 16 told investigators the convicted pedophile had pointed to a photo of a blonde on a beach and claimed she had given birth to his baby. Epstein described the woman as perfect and even displayed a sculpted mold of her torso inside his Manhattan townhouse. The stunning claim, part of the tranche of documents recently released by the Justice Department, is likely to reignite longtime speculation about whether Epstein secretly fathered a child, particularly given long-standing reports that the sex offender wanted to seed a new human race with his DNA.
Oh my god.
The claims have been repeatedly denied by Epstein's brother Mark, who's a totally straight shooter. We should absolutely believe him. You know, he cremated the body because, you know, there's nothing else to see there, obviously. Who insists the late financier never had a child. But the Daily Mail has also uncovered several accounts of Epstein asking women to carry his child, including one FBI interview with a different victim who claimed he wanted her to have his baby. The files also laid bare a striking photograph showing Epstein hugging a woman in his New York home while she cradles a baby in her arms. God, that's so creepy. Jesus Christ. And can you go down to the picture that shows the... I don't even want to see that one. Not that one. The one that shows the letter. Yeah, so
go up real quick?
Yeah.
Just above that. The former Duchess of York wrote to Epstein in September 2011, congratulating him on becoming a dad. This is Sarah Ferguson, right? Yeah. She wrote, "Don't know if you are still on this BlackBerry Messenger, but heard from the Duke that you have had a baby boy. Even though you never kept in touch, I still am here with love, friendship, and congratulations on your baby boy, Sarah." The victim who disclosed Epstein's admission of fatherhood spoke to the FBI in January 2020, 5 months after he was found dead in his cell in New York while waiting trial on charges. She had quite a harrowing story to tell. And what is this image I'm looking at, Dave?
Yeah.
What is the inset say?
Handwritten notes from an Epstein victim reveal her claim that the disgraced financier raised the idea of having a child with her during a visit to his Palm Beach mansion.
Okay, and what does the next one say down below it?
Next one is
The woman wrote that Epstein brought up the idea of her having his baby while they were in Palm Beach, a suggestion that allegedly angered his longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. Fuck. If he has a baby, is that like patient zero, you know? Again, just pure spec. But like if he's trying to engineer DNA and shit, like, oh, I didn't even think that angle. That's fucked up. It gets weird, man. That's weird. It gets very weird. But our friend Sayer wrote about some of the bioengineering that Jeffrey Epstein was involved with one Bill Gates. And there's some stuff I want to get to today. I'm looking at the time, Deef.
Yeah.
Just talking live here.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see where we're at, but some things I definitely want to get to today. And if I just take out that whole part talking about Iran earlier, I'll do it. I don't care. So if you guys didn't hear something about Iran, let's get out because there's too much important stuff to get here. Yeah, let her talk about that because unfortunately we're in the middle of a war that I don't know if that's going to end soon. I hope it ends yesterday, but I don't know. But Sayer G wrote this piece on Substack about a strange 2013 mafia-like back and forth that Jeffrey Epstein had with Boris Nikolic, who was Bill Gates' chief science advisor, regarding distributing vaccines to Pakistani children under the control of the Pakistani Taliban, which is a terrorist group according to the United States. They have been listed as that, and they are directly affiliated with the Taliban in Afghanistan. So what's interesting about this is Bill Gates stays out of it like a mob boss. He's discussed, but by name. So they weren't very good at the whole omerta thing of like, you know, we're not going to discuss the big guy's name. Yeah, you know. I guess in Russia or wherever Boris is from, they're not as good at, you know, what we're good at in Jersey. But Boris goes back and forth with Jeffrey Epstein discussing the logic of how to be able to do this, which it had to do with like a polio vaccine, which isn't weird at all. That, you know, maybe they're trying to test that on some kids in a third world country living under a terrorist regime. That's neither here nor there. But in essence, there's also that Norwegian diplomat, what the fuck is his name?
Rod Larson.
Okay, Rod Larson, who's involved helping facilitate this. Rod Larson has some weird connects with like what's listed as the conservative movement in Europe. And like, again, you're seeing in these files that Jeffrey Epstein and the people of these classes, they're pay everyone and they play all sides. Yeah. There's no left and right to them. And it has cemented my theory that I've said forever that shit doesn't exist. It's just how the people that want things to be control people to divide them. And I'm seeing, I am feeling that and feeling vindicated in that the more I read these emails and the different types of people who are
It
talking.
affirms your ban and stuff too. And the biggest thing is I'm like, that motherfucker knows exactly what he's doing.
That's right. That's right. So Epstein and Nikolic go back and forth on the optics of how to make this happen. Nikolic says explicitly that Bill Gates doesn't want his name attached to it, but he was nice enough to attach his name to the email by saying Bill Gates doesn't want his name attached to it. I know his name was directly attached to it. And that Bill would be like okay with it once Jeff got this clear. But then Jeffrey Epstein, who's certainly not a lawyer himself, asked Boris Nikolic, who is not a lawyer in any way, he's a science advisor, about the optics of this plan to distribute this vaccine in relation to the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, meaning they were actually worried about being in violation of a law, which is the first time I've seen these guys in any of these files worried about
In a
violating.
quarter mile, turn left onto Cedar Mountain Road.
Boris Nikolic, by the way, was one of the 3 people that Jeffrey Epstein made as an executor of his estate, which I don't know what his qualifications were for that, but certainly shows how close the relationship was there. And Nikolic basically says, I don't fucking know either what this is.
Turn left onto Cedar Mountain Road.
Discussion about Machiavelli and the art of war, if you will, and what this would mean. And so what Nikolic says in the email on March 6, 2013 is, I rarely find ethical question interesting. I
Continue
find
for
it
1
a
mile.
waste of time and resources. I do like old good Niccolo Machiavelli. It all varies on circumstances and weighting out the pros and cons for each specific case. To me, if a leader is using some of the money for his personal gain, but this allows the job to be done, it is super okay. Even at the worst, meaning like weapons, depends what kind of weapons and what could be the repercussions. What he's saying is the ends justify the means, because in order to distribute this vaccine, they would have to get the permission of the Pakistani Taliban to handle distributing it, and they would have to give them a payoff, meaning they're paying the Taliban just like our government does, and Sean Ryan has exposed. We continue to pay the Taliban today in Afghanistan. At least can't speak for the Pakistani one, but they were going to pay off the Taliban to be able to get this experimental vaccine given to these kids. God knows what happens to those kids. And in the meantime, in giving them a payoff, they understand that the Taliban's going to use that to buy weapons that could be used to kill American soldiers or anyone who's an enemy of them, civilians in the area, whatever it may be, and cement their power. And Boris Nikolic, science advisor, but apparently, chief emperor of the world to make decisions on who lives and who dies, like it's Game of Thrones, says, yeah, I'm okay with that as long as we get this vaccine tested, and big guy...
In a quarter mile, make a sharp left onto Cave Springs Road.
Okay with it too. So every time you look at Bill Gates in this story, he gets more and more sinister in different ways. And when you have a nerd, and Bill Gates is a prototypical nerd,
Make a sharp left onto Cave Springs Road.
beyond what their nerdiness is supposed to be. Bill Gates' nerdiness is fucking computers. He's a kid that, was getting shoved in lockers and writing code.
Continue for 1 mile.
Computers were even like a thing, or coming up with how to write, whatever you want to say. He then decides to dedicate his life to being the preeminent world expert on public health and, quietly, without attaching his name, test third world country kids with experimental fucking vaccines and all this bullshit using fixers like Jeffrey Epstein. Very interesting.
And Jeff clearly felt confident in this reply to Boris.
Okay, so March 6, 2013 to Boris Nikolic. Let's assume that as Bill gets more known as to his wishes, the bad guys begin controlling more closely the vaccine procedure, referring to the Taliban, and the only way to win them over is to pay the bad guys to allow vaccines. How would you think about it? Terje left 20 minutes ago. That's the Norwegian guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is first going to Australia and then the Middle East. That's the Norwegian conservative political figure we were talking about. I told him I will see him in Paris and bring the info, and asks, read Nigeria and Pakistan, which means getting intelligence on how this could be done. I don't
In a
know.
quarter mile, turn left onto Abercorn Way.
And just for context too, because we were looking at that earlier, a big point of the Pakistani Taliban was a heavy anti-vaccination push. So that's very important to know here too.
Turn left onto Abercorn Way.
So
Trying to accomplish 3 different goals, one of which is also being to change the tide of public opinion in the area. Whether it be
In 800 feet,
Yep.
turn left onto Binford Place.
5 mil, just let it rock. I keep trying to think what part of the super government level Bill Gates is on. I can't.
Turn left onto Binford Place.
I
Then
don't
turn
know if he's
right.
on the class below Epstein, or if he is the fixer class, or if he's in
Turn
the-
right onto Abington Port.
with the Rothschilds and people like that. I cannot put my finger there.
In 700 feet, 1085 Abington Court, Douglasville, Georgia 30134, USA will be on the left.
Pure Dunning-Kruger effect that affects everyone in the world without their consent in many cases. And evil guy. I just evil guy. Also
1085 Abington Court, Douglasville, Georgia 30134, USA is on the left.
such a dweeb. I mean, he's such a fucking dweeb. Look, it's another really good argument for not fucking, when you're a kid, don't bully kids. This is what you get. Yeah. I guarantee you he was shoved into a lot of lockers. I joke about it, but like dead seriously. You know? There's some people that maybe should have been shoved into some more, if I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth there. And then there's other people, it's like, maybe they should have never been shoved in any of them. Maybe you should have fucking made friends with them. Like, Bill Gates is the kind of kid that, like, you know, today might be a fucking school shooter.
I don't want to go too far on a tangent, but like you're talking about the school lockers, it's like I thought the same thing when I saw the headline today with Kash Patel saying, in a historic measure, the UFC fighters are going to be training FBI.
Listen, I advocate all the time for more training for law enforcement, but read the fucking room, Kash Patel. I know you're reading 2 pages at once with those fucking one-eye hunt and one-eye fishing thing going on, but read the room. No one wants a fucking press release about your partnership with the UFC. Just do it. You don't have to tell people about it. I love transparency. There's a line for it, though. There's a line between transparency and showmanship.
Hi, hello,
Are you
hi,
the director
hi.
of the FBI?
Hey, Milk.
Or
What
are you
up?
trying to grow your follower account on Twitter? Which
What up,
one
Milk?
is it? Which one is it?
Yeah, he's like the kid that's working for his dad's small business, and he just dicks off in the back all day and then tells his friends, like, I'm getting fucking money, dude.
Yep.
I own a business.
That's right.
You sweep the floors, Cash.
You sweep the
You
floor.
sweep the floors.
You sweep. And maybe you can look into, you know, you're so busy over there at the FBI, maybe you can look into fucking Epstein's potential drug connections as well.
Or what about after your training seminar, we ship you off to Iran? I don't know. You'd get my respect back, Cash.
Yeah. Hey, listen, if he went on the front lines, I'd give him that.
Just run it
Where are they?
on speed, just bulging out of his head.
It's like the John Kiriakou meme with the laser.
Yeah.
Instead of straight, they're just going like this. Yeah.
And he would be like the kid on the football team that doesn't get one of the new helmets. Like when I was in high school and we got football helmets, like we'd get new ones, but then the scrubs would get like the old school.
At the stop sign, turn left onto Binford Place. Then at the next stop sign, you'll turn right.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
He looks like a revolutionary and everyone else is dressed up in 2026 finest.
How is Trump not fired? He fired Nelm the other day, and I know he at least likes looking at her.
It's just perfect idiot. They need, like, you need to have perfect idiots to go and prop up, like.
The only thing I can come up with is that, you know, he's just a public figurehead. And
Yeah.
they throw him to the wolves, and there's
Yeah.
really other people controlling the FBI.
Yeah, and if you're a guy like Cash, you gotta just look in the mirror and be like, okay, I gotta just continue eating shit, and just everyone will hate me,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm set. I'm set for life,
set.
and it'll be okay.
That's right. Can you click that link about another Daily Mail report about Epstein and drugs? Because there was something really fascinating in this that should not be overlooked. So, newly released Epstein files show the disgraced billionaire may have facilitated drug trafficking, and the report is may have. You can't ironclad put this down, but there are some strange money transactions that happen at a very strange time. So newly released documents suggest pedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein may have been involved in drug trafficking. The Troll files released by the DOJ show that the Drug Enforcement Agency once opened an investigation into Epstein and 14 other unidentified individuals' money transfers, which authorities believe could have been linked to trafficking illegal narcotics. I wonder why those investigations were closed. DEA reporting indicates that the above individuals are involved in illegitimate wire transfers, which are tied to illicit drugs and/or prostitution activities occurring in the
U.S. Virgin Islands and New York City. The heavily redacted memo from 2015 says it shows that authorities in New York opened the investigation into nearly $50 million in suspicious wire transfers Epstein and 14 other targets made starting on December 17, 2010, 2 years after he reached a non-prosecution agreement with the federal government and 9 years before he was arrested on federal sex charges. This is what's really fascinating about this. You know how in the mob, when you get out of prison, they call it you went to college and you come out and they set you up with like a new fucking front restaurant, give you a fucking pile of cash to take home to your wife and your mod and like, you know, pay you for your silence and all that. December 17, 2010 is a week after his coming home party, which I believe was on December 10th, 2010, the famous one that like Peggy Siegel put together with all the people coming to welcome him home from prison and all that. And suddenly he's involved in, you know, these big wire transfers that involve potentially drugs, potentially prosecution, potentially all the above that, you know, get him up on his feet. Jeff stood up, he went into court, he didn't fucking rat out anybody, didn't say anything about Dershowitz, who was even fucking there representing him, and, you know, we're taking care of him.
I just get so fucking pissed because like I'll bug out about like doing a minuscule thing that's like not even that bad, and I'll be like, oh, I don't want to get in trouble, and it's like motherfuckers will just like transfer $50 million and get a DEA investigation, and they're like, ah, you're good.
The CEO finally saw the accident footage and realized he had wrongly blamed his wife all along. He was filled with
Power is a strange currency. It doesn't need a gun when it already owns your secrets. On this lonely sliver of Caribbean rock, a disgraced math teacher built a pleasure palace, then wired it like a CIA safe house. Every chandelier hiding a lens.
The FBI drilled Epstein's safe after he was arrested, and they took out anywhere from hundreds to thousands of DVDs.
They are videos that exist.
I was trafficked to other billionaires, politicians, professors, even royalty.
2 decades later, he's dead. The tapes are missing, and the internet is stuck on all the wrong things.
I've tried not to focus on whether or not Epstein killed himself. I think that's kind of a red herring.
Today, we ask a different question. Who built Jeffrey Epstein, and why was he worth protecting at all costs?
At the end of months of digging, meeting the pharmacist, there was still this question mark. Who is this guy?
Who's a mysterious currency trading financier with crazy rules so that no one would ever invest with him.
This guy, he's getting together with people and compromise, blackmailing everybody.
Epstein shows up at Dalton in '74 with no...
Erica Kirk has said a lot of weird shit. She has worn a lot of weird shit for a lot of weird occasions. She made a lot of odd hair and makeup choices. She's generally just pretty off, but this is the weirdest, wackiest yet eerie, incriminating, dare I say. And listen, Charlie is somebody who I've made clear many times here. This is a person who held and lived by views I very fundamentally disagreed with, and at the same time, his death was bad, really bad. So imagine me saying he would have wanted it that way. Erica Kirk may have accidentally revealed something about Charlie's death, and it went completely over everyone's head. It was eerie, and she didn't just say it once, she said it twice. And what that statement suggests about how she views what happened is honestly chilling. And by the end of this video, I'm going to show you the exact moments that Erica did this. And once you hear it and understand the calculations and the choreography behind it, a lot of other unanswered questions around this story start lining up. And real quick, if you're new here, I'm Lauren Paritra, Willa Paritra, my four-legged boss, and daughter is roaming around. You might hear her little pauses. And we currently have a lead on Katie Miller, who is the wife of Stephen Little Bitch Miller, the pale white nationalist from Santa Monica behind all this ICE terror. And we currently have a lead on her in her podcast. She built that podcast on the backs of trafficked children, and we are out here bootstrapping this thing. So consider every like, every sub, every comment, 6 words or more, every hype as a direct FU to Katie and Stephen Little Bitch Miller. We gotta maintain our lead out of fear principle. So now, if you've watched my last couple of videos, you already know we've covered Erica's degree questions, the timeline issues, her sus as fuck family background, and her background that just doesn't seem to line up with any sort of paper trail. But there are a few names and a few details we haven't talked about yet, and they matter because they add context to what she eventually says. And at the time of this recording, we're exactly 6 months out from Charlie's death, which means we've got a new sizzle reel.
I have to say this without getting emotional, but I'm very proud of my husband. More than anything, Charlie wanted to do not his will, but God's will. There was no keeping score between us. We were a team, working together for the same mission. Charlie's life was a turning point for this country. It's a miracle.
So one of the earliest things Erica did publicly when Charlie was offed was release a video exactly 30 days after he died. People grieve in different ways, grieve in different ways. That alone doesn't really like stand out, but what caught my attention was how the video was put together. Okay, obviously professionally lit, carefully framed and scored, but the tense cinematic violin, the kind of soundtrack you would normally hear right before a big reveal in like a thriller movie, and the words she sang about grief, she talked about how loss moves in waves, how one day she's on the floor crying out to Jesus, and then the next she's smiling at family photos, okay, whatever. She says suffering clarified how much she loved Charlie. She says she has never loved him more than she does now. In theory, could sound sweet, sincere. I know videos can be a creative outlet, making them have helped me heal or work through grief at times too, but the tone of this video, this grief sizzle reel, really, we just breezed past this one a little too quickly. When you watch it, it pulls your brain somewhere else. A lot of viewers had the same reactions watching it. Something about it feels like it's meant to communicate something very specifically, and we know that Erica Kirk and Turning Point USA, Toilet Paper USA, they have plans in place for everything. Every move is carefully choreographed. Every message is carefully choreographed. So, like, what is this one trying to say? And if it were me, talking scenarios here for a second, if I died and my husband treated my death like a marketing milestone with a 30-day recap sizzle reel featuring a tense building violin while he went on tour firing off t-shirt cannons, running his hands through somebody else's hair at my memorial, and generally treating the whole situation like the opening act of a Vegas residency, I might personally have a few thoughts about that. It might make my friends feel pretty fucking weird, because it is weird, and I wanted to understand it more myself. So upon consulting Dr. Google, what psychologists describe this as is like an expectation mismatch. Most people, we have an idea of what grief looks like. Unfortunately, it's part of our universal lived experience, the shittiest one, arguably. So when somebody arrives so polished, edited, rehearsed, and awkward at every single milestone, like 30 days, your brains notice subconsciously, and that difference stands out immediately. So once that sets in, that feeling, people start looking more closely. And that's when other questions around Erica and her bizarre behavior started to pick up steam. So all of that sits in the background, because that's where things go when they get sideways and extremely sus. And I need you to really listen to what Erica admits on this first stop of her Grief World Tour, because what made the interview feel sus is that it was being hyped as her first sit-down interview, even though by that point she'd already been very visible, speaking at events, media mania, every media hit she could get her face on, and basically stepping into Charlie Kirk's role publicly. The difference is those appearances were clearly tied to her promoting something she can make a buck off of, Turning Point USA, the book, continuing his show, but this one was framed as a more personal moment.
He's in heaven. And he sees everything full picture. And I truly believe that if the Lord, which this does not happen, but if the Lord gave him an option to return back to earth, and if the Lord said, this is what your death is going to be the catalyst for, do you want to go back and exchange it? He'd say no. Wow.
So what was kind of weird about the interview is that it's being marketed, again, as Erica Kirk's first sit-down interview, even though she'd already been like well on a tour by then. She'd already been everywhere since Charlie's speaking at events, appearing on conservative media. She was doing podcasts, stage appearances, stepping into leadership at Turning Point USA. Real quick, the difference is like those earlier appearances were basically promotional or movement building, while this one was supposed to be real and raw. But even that felt way manufactured. And look, maybe she meant something noble, but thinking from Charlie's perspective,
say somewhere in the afterlife, you hear your wife say your death is a catalyst for her finally getting the spotlight she so thirstily craved her entire pageant life. Maybe the idea that she meant to communicate was that Charlie believed so strongly in the cause of Turning Point USA chapters throughout the USA that he'd accept the risks in the outcome. Feels like a reach, but when people hear he wouldn't want it undone, their brains immediately skirt and start picturing the life on the other side of that sentence. And we're now seeing his own people subtly sending out what I think are distress signals, including this one from Blake Neff.
Blake, any thoughts?
You know, it's... Erica said that if Charlie was given the choice to undo what happened and come back, he wouldn't, she thought, because of what was unleashed by it.
So Neff is the producer of the Charlie Kirk Show. He's also an ultra-conservative commentator who I believe came up in the same political orbit as Charlie and the Turning Point USA world. And according to him, what Erica said about Charlie immediately stood out. He says she described Charlie as somebody who wouldn't have wanted his undone. Keep in mind, in a previous video we covered how Turning Point USA is allegedly, emphasis on this, protect me, is booting employees who were called family on a call right after he was off, but are now getting kicked to the curb, including a longtime communications executive who was booted after asking questions about Kirk's, and then reportedly had private investigators to photograph her house. We showed videos of it. Sounds like intimidation to me, and I don't think I'm alone in saying this, that like we humans have a pretty basic operation system when it comes to death. If somebody you love dies, I think the instinct is pretty simple. You want them back. You want to call them one more day, one more conversation. Anything more, you would do anything to see them again. That's the language people reach for when they're grieving. So when somebody frames a death as something the person wouldn't want undone, your brain, like my brain shorter gets for a second, because now we're in a different category of humility here. Normally, when somebody dies, we describe it one of two ways. It's either a tragedy, meaning they should still be here, or maybe it's a sacrifice or something unfair. Maybe they believed in something so strongly, like joining the military. I don't fucking know. But saying somebody wouldn't want the outcome reversed is different, especially with a young person. Which, okay, leads to a pretty basic question here. You're telling me a guy with a wife and kids, an entire life ahead of him, who loved the spotlight equally, would look at the option to come back and go, no thanks, let's leave it as is. That graphic death? And when people hear that, they start looking around at the life he supposedly wouldn't want to return to. Because the public version of that life right now is weird. A widow who is suddenly everywhere, on every stage in America, building a national profile, a household name, describing herself as a sole provider, inserting herself into the movement he built. The kids, meanwhile, are nowhere to be seen. We're going to keep digging in here. And if you've been following this story with me and you want to keep digging into the details as they come, make sure you're subscribed. There's a lot going on here, and we're going to keep pulling on the strings. Again, I am Lauren P. across all social channels. Follow me, message me, anywhere. Remember, we've got to keep a lead on Katie Miller, the wife of Stephen Littlevich Miller. It's all I ask. We're people powered. You don't have to do anything else. Subscribe, and let's maintain our lead out of pure principle. Willie, can you say, we are Charlie?